The homeless are now the biggest source of guests for many New York hotels. Rehoused here in the pandemic, it's offered more space and safety than typical shelters. But drug and mental health issues among some make it a complex picture. And 6 months on, it's creating tension in Manhattan neighborhoods.
I know many people on this block will not go out at night. They will not go out after 7, not just at night.
Marisa Rodanti describes how rife drug abuse is making many areas feel unsafe. Her frustration directed at the city authorities.
This is a war. This is a war against so many elements that have been mismanaged by our city, that it has created an apocalyptic crisis. I mean,
when you say apocalyptic, describe that.
Well, you know, there are days when you will see some of it, you'll see this much of it, where we feel that even walking on the street to get groceries, you have to be aware all the time. People have been hit doing nothing and knocked out.
Come dusk, there's a steady stream of ambulances responding to problems. One resident contacted Sky News to share the scenes outside his home. 139 hotels in New York are now housing the homeless, and some of the shelter residents, like James, also have concerns.
It's a refreshing thing to have your own space and stuff like that. I just wish that everybody else in the situation would see it the same way, you know?
Yeah.
Because some people just, they take advantage of it, they just, you know what I'm saying? And you hear the maids say it, they're like, some people their rooms are disgusting, and I understand. So it's a messed up situation, I feel like. It's a messed up situation on both ends. I mean, you know, because certain people don't belong in a shelter. Let's just be honest. Certain people don't belong in a shelter. Some people have mental illness. Some people have a lot of other things, and I feel like they need to evaluate better.
This is a 600-room hotel, which is now a shelter across the road. Another 600-room hotel, which is also housing the homeless, and it's impacting the neighborhood. Residents who can get out have left. Businesses are struggling to operate if they've even reopened. And the toughest thing, perhaps, is that they don't know how long this is going to go on for.
Nearly 9 in 10 restaurants and bars in New York have been struggling to pay their rent. As a fourth generation of his family business, Paul is determined to stay open.
In our neighborhood, we've always had several houses, shelters, more than most neighborhoods in New York. Yeah. That is the perfect example of what's going on in our neighborhood. You don't totally know, you're a little, nervous, and the tensions are a little high.
Many businesses that closed 6 months ago now won't reopen. When the Hilton Times Square shuts for good, you know the problems are big. The city is crying out for custom and visitors.
Forget international travel. You cannot come to New York City from 35 different states. That's essentially the entire United States. So in the past, when we had crises like, say, 9/11 or the Great Recession, at least other Americans came here. And to see it like this, cut off from the rest of the world, cut off from the rest of the United States, is just heartrending. So.
Funding to house the vulnerable is helping some hotels survive this crisis. In the city that never sleeps, it remains unclear when the crowds and tourists will return. Sally Lockwood, Sky News, New York.